Hello and welcome to the Move Your Business Forward podcast. These talks are hosted by Rob Boll, founder of Evoke Management and CEO of International Leaders UK. He'll be talking with experts from both these companies about issues that affect SME companies today.
Welcome to this episode of the Move Your Business Forward podcast. I'm joined here by a couple of colleagues from Evoke, Maddalena and Dee Lobatto. Thank you very much for joining me today. We're going to be talking about digital transformation strategies today, and this is all part of our Big Squeeze campaign, where companies are struggling with various things of inflationary pressures, supply chain issues, and finding the best talent and retaining that talent. Anything embracing technology and digital transformation is going to bring positive things to the business, from being more efficient and therefore potentially needing less people and making the people you've got lives easier, but also how you engage with your customers, that kind of outwardly looking piece. So we're going to talk about two things there: inward looking, process improvement, digital enhancement of what you're doing, and then secondly, the outward looking digital impacts that would help engage with customers or meet the needs of the changing customer kind of engagement piece. So Nick, you've done a lot with helping companies with their internal performance improvement, embracing tech and all that kind of stuff. So what would be your top tip for any business thinking, have we done enough? Have we got this right? Internally focused.
Thanks, Rob. Good to be here today. Yeah, I guess there's no need to boil the ocean from the outset. So the first step, really top tip, has got to be that it's critical to ascertain the key areas of the business that will benefit most. Gone are the days of enormous IT transformation projects that take years and cost a huge amount of money. There are now a lot of products out there, off-the-shelf products that can be relatively easily implemented into the work stream. So simple example would be Sage or HubSpot as a CRM, where those SaaS products can make a big difference. So yeah, I guess my top tip is that it's an iterative process, and you don't need to transform the entire business. You can look at small pockets at the outset to create real efficiency.
And I think also, Nick, is just some of the simple things as well. You mentioned Sage. I'll be honest, I'm a big fan of not using Sage as an accounting software. Something like Xero is for me is the leading piece, and attached to something like Xero is all these extra add-ons and connections that just make life easier. I think at the days of moving documents from one desk to another desk, pile to pile, all of that should really be disappearing. It should be automated flows between CRMs, customer management systems, and invoice systems, and understanding who's paid, connecting with banks, all that kind of stuff. Some of that's just quite simple digital transformation, but there's still companies that don't have that. One of our Evoke clients, which I won't name, is still sending remittance advice in the post, which I think is just ridiculous. But these things happen, and some companies don't move on. Nick, where have you seen the best examples of this with companies you've looked at, or seen the biggest gains from kind of just doing some of these simple things?
Yeah, I think I guess from a commercial perspective, then effective use of a CRM has got to be, it has almost untold benefits for the entire commercial side of the business, and being able to keep account of contacts, outreaches. It can significantly transform the process for the entire sales team, and creates a roadmap. So I would say that in my experience, that it's very simple to implement. It's simple to use, as long as everybody populates it, obviously. But that's where I would see the biggest immediate advantage on the commercial side.
And CRMs range from Salesforce all the way down to the free simple one. Thoughts on picking the right one and making sure it kind of helps? Any thoughts around that? Because I think that's what a lot of companies seem to struggle with.
Yeah, I mean, I've used more than one in the past. The one that you've mentioned is can be quite involved. Extracting at a senior level, if you're looking to extract the data, then you really need to have somebody who spent quite a bit of time learning how to do it with Salesforce. It's an incredibly powerful tool, but does take some time to get familiar with it, or sufficiently familiar with it to extract the relevant data to be able to measure performance. Some of the others, are slightly easier to use. There's a lot of work being done on the UX. HubSpot, for instance, although there are even parts of that requires an in-depth knowledge to extract the data. But that's my view.
No, great. And Dee, you must have seen internal digital transformation projects or embracing this kind of thing. What's the top wins you've seen from your experience?
Hi, Rob. Happy to be here in this podcast. Very interesting subject. I think some of the things that I've seen that I personally have implemented as well in companies that have worked really well, and irrespective of whether it's a sales tool or an accounting tool or even a procedure, apologies. So sorry.
No worries.
Is basically, it doesn't matter which area that you're looking in. It's dependent upon the environment for the organization, because that's fundamentally important. Whether they're a service environment, they're sales-led, product-led, manufacturing-led, it could be a variety of different things. And one of the key things that I've kind of experienced across all of those is actually looking at the environment. And what exactly is it that, whether you're a startup and you're looking for more sales, whether you're somebody who's established and you're looking to actually maximize customer experience and enhance the efficiency within your organization. So environment, organization's aim and what it's really looking for, and it's the user's aim, because as Nick alluded earlier, it's if people populate it, if, it's a little bit more complex to put the information in. Those are the key things that I've found across organizations, irrespective of what we're looking to digitize. That's fundamentally important. So research what exactly it is within your organization that you need. And then, having a strategic framework with key KPIs is fundamentally important as well. And then it's making sure that it's formalized and that you've got an internal team, having taken in external input as well, that actually helps you to tailor the requirement. And one of the key things for me that's been always important is the procurement strategy. Is it open? Is it scalable? No matter how small or large you are, you're always going to be evolving with your digital strategy, irrespective of the area. So that's very important. And also, when you are slightly smaller, do look at some of this stuff. We were just talking about Xero, which is great online and it is open. So for me, it's environment, organization's aim, and also the user's aim.
Yeah.
KPIs in place, fundamentally important.
A couple of things there, Dee. It's quite interesting is different stages of business. So whether you're a startup, more established, there's different focuses, and it's appreciating that you might outgrow a system, and that's not a problem. There's no point in having a system now that's too expensive, too niche, or too specific that you might need when you get to double the turnover or double the size of whatever it is. But you don't need to go for that too quick, because often at that point you need a bigger team. You need more people that understand those kind of software. Start for the right system for what you've got now, but realize at some point you might outgrow it. I think that's a really important thing to acknowledge. And some companies have more tech people that can help with these kind of systems, but if nothing else, have at least one person who kind of champions that system would be my advice. Have someone that is the champion of a new system of buying in and is probably the most geeky, knowledgeable about it and can go to offer help. And some people love doing that kind of thing. And I'm sure most companies have someone like that can champion a new bit of software and get other people absorbed and engaged. I think another thing on here which often comes up is, great, we've got a system, and it actually came up recently, time sheets and tracking time is great, but if staff won't do it or don't do it in a timely manner, or just you don't have consistency of input, it can be a challenge. And I guess if you're running a business, other than forcing people to do it, which still doesn't often work, what would be your thoughts, Nick, on how you just enforce people to use these kind of things that are going to add value?
I mean, that's absolutely correct. You can have the best system in the world, but if nobody within the organization is populating it, then it's not going to be a great deal of use over time. It's a hearts and minds thing at the end of the day. At the end of the day, the users are the staff. So your staff are going to be the ones that will ultimately benefit. If the staff are not going to benefit, then the organization is not going to benefit from implementing the digital tools. So I think you have to take everybody on the journey right from the outset. So imposing it upon them at the 11th hour and saying, right, as of tomorrow, you're going to be using this system, is obviously not the right way of doing it. You have to take them on the journey. The staff have to be entirely convinced from the outset that this is going to benefit them. And by benefiting them, it will ultimately benefit the company.
Yeah. No, I think that's great advice. Dee, any thoughts on just getting buy-in and getting people to do this regularly?
Yeah, I think that's a very fundamental point, because the buy-in is so important that even when you're actually doing your research at the beginning and saying what exactly it is that we need, depending on whether it's enterprise-wide again, throughout your organization, or it's a sales tool, get those guys in, say, and really ask them, how's it going right now? What else could the organization do to make your life easier? And usually you get remarks like, well, I lose the tracking. And you go, okay, so you take that on board and go, okay, what kind of a tool am I looking for if it's the sales team telling me they kind of lose track of the tracking, and what would be most important for them? So it's getting that buy-in early on, saying you're involved in the process and you've told me you have 2 or 3 issues with regard to the function that you're performing. We're looking at a tool that might be able to help you. And you can do the same thing in the accounting function, even in the procurement function. So it's getting that in and making them part of that team, though you have a champion that might lead the tool and is the nerdy expert who loves doing that kind of stuff in the organization. These guys form part of the committee that makes the decision towards, saying, yeah, this is the direction we go in. And I think that's where the hearts and minds and the buy-in comes in, because they're involved in the actual process itself from the very beginning.
Yeah. No, great. No, I think that's really good advice. Thank you both. One thing I'm keen to also talk about here is talking a little bit there about the internal use of tech, digital, and those kind of digital transformation strategies. And we could probably talk about that for a lot longer, but there's also the external facing part of this. It's the piece that is going to help you improve customer engagement or keep on trend with where the customers want to be viewing your products, engaging with your services or content, whatever it is. So Dee, you've had quite a bit of experience in this space and helping companies with the external focused digital transformation changes. What's your immediate kind of thoughts around companies looking for that and identifying where they should be focused?
Well, it's quite simple. We do it in our everyday life, really, even as just, consumers, when we're talking about looking at tracking of parcels that, orders that we've made, and where's the parcel, when is it coming? And that's the external view, where you're allowing access into your internal systems. So that's one way of doing it. Accounting, again, you can let your clients have their remittances and what they've paid and how it's been consolidated uniquely to their business with their agreement with you. Working in the advertising sector, it's actually quite interesting in that you can develop interaction with your clients online. And that is fundamentally important when you're delivering a campaign or developing an advertising strategy, whereby the client can actually comment and input and see the progress online, rather than having that, I have to have a call, you have to send me photocopies of everything that you're doing, or a PDF or files. So there are different tools. One of the fundamental things that I find quite interesting, and it's one of the clients that I've been working with recently, is in publishing, where, can't mention who they are, but a hereditary brand that's always been doing it the same way in terms of newsstand sales, but haven't really transformed into a digital environment where actually most of the major papers are doing it, but they haven't really considered it. And saying to them, well, have you thought about people being able to access it on their mobile phones? And an app version of your publication would be fantastic. An online computer web access would be great. They're considering it. A previous client that I worked with a few years ago has actually already done that, again, in the publishing sector. And it's quite interesting in that they've actually now stopped publishing anything that's paper-based, because they're going for a goal that is environmentally friendly, and everything that they have for their publications is online. And it's quite interesting to see that they've actually allowed, which I have to say, it was a long discussion, but eventually they decided they were going to take feedback from their readership as to what more they would like to know. And the whole content of the publication and its editorial content has fundamentally changed. And it's incredible because they're actually online digitally getting the feedback as to what their readership wants to know more about. So it's quite interesting to see the evolution in the last 6 years of what it used to be like, the before, if you like, and then today with the digital transformation outside to their consumers that they've brought on board. And then having worked with a manufacturer, there's another great example in that, this is going back a while back because now we have it everywhere. Nobody believed you could sell secondhand cars on a website. What do we do today? And this was one of the first clients in the UK to actually create a digital website whereby secondhand cars could be sold online.
And you look back and see how many things have changed that way. And I think the important thing is what's going to be next for your business or your sector and how you do that. And I think one of the big things for me where I either get frustrated or see, oh, wow, that's impressive, is just communicating either the status or the process of your order. So if you're a customer dealing with someone, you don't necessarily always mind how long something takes, but you just want to be updated or informed of what's happening. And I think one of the worst cases at the moment I experience regularly is working with a few companies that are doing R&D tax reclaims. Once it's gone to HMRC, it kind of is in a hole and you never know what's going on and it's just lost. Compare that to some of the kind of sites you can order online, even if it's a long lead time because a customizable product, whatever it is, you can track every single thing. You know exactly where your item is and at what stage it's going to move on. It'd be like at Domino's, if you order a pizza, you see exactly what stage your pizza. You don't really need to know that, but it's interactive and it's got that next level. And you think, well, what comes next? I don't know, Nick, if you've got any thoughts around that in terms of where you see things going in particular sectors.
I guess a red flag has got to be, listening to the conversation, the red flag has got to be that if a company doesn't have a digital transformation strategy, that's a real problem, because every company has to have one, even if it's from a simple efficiency perspective for certain business units, or it's a wholesale digital transformation project. Every company has to have one because every industry is going that way. And it, very interesting. Dee, you mentioned selling secondhand cars. You've mentioned ordering your pizza. I've spent many years in the insurance industry, and I think actually it's amazing that more insurance companies haven't moved towards the creation of online portals to enable their customers to access the company, to check on progress of claims, to be able to make online submissions, to get automated prices and quotes. There are companies that have done it, but there's a large section of the industry that hasn't got to that stage yet, and that has to be an inevitability. Shortening the value chain in any industry vertical can be achieved through digital transformation. So if a company doesn't have a strategy, then it probably needs to sit down and think hard about it.
Well, there's an interesting one. I think you're right about insurance, but one of the very, very old clients of mine, they're a legal firm, and guess what they've digitized? And I find it fascinating, conveyancing. So you can buy your house through these solicitors who do all the work that a normal solicitor would do, but you can track where your conveyancing is going through an app or their website. You don't actually need to be in touch, because they will also, through the website, say these are the documents that you need to provide and upload. Absolutely amazing. It makes every consumer or any business or any individual that is purchasing or remortgaging or selling so much easier, that they don't have to pick up the phone. And I think businesses need to realize that that's not about just technology. What it does is, you don't have someone ordering a pizza, for example, and having to call you, Rob, for example, every 10 minutes saying, okay, it's on, it's cooked, it's on its way. That's human time that can be spent so much more efficiently within an organization, going, I can process more orders rather than have to follow and track through, which can be automated. Yeah. And the same with the conveyancing, exactly the same process. You're actually tracking where it's going. So yeah, I agree with you. I think more and more vertical sectors certainly could adapt that online.
Yeah, no, agreed. Well, thanks for your thoughts so far. We're going to just wrap this up, and I would encourage anyone listening to this, if you're thinking, I haven't got a strategy, and Nick's told me I should do, what do I do? I think the first thing is talk to us. We can give some thoughts as to where you might want to start, but also just look around you and start thinking, okay, what are your competitors doing, or what are other people doing that might give you a clue as to where you should be going in terms of being more digitally focused, and just ask those questions. So just closing thoughts, Nick, have you got any closing thought? If someone's listening to this and you'd encourage them to do just one thing, what would it be?
I think the one critical thing is to look at the business, look at your competitors, see where your competitors are on the digital landscape, and start, looking for areas or additional areas of the business which would benefit from digital transformation to create efficiency. So, that's an ongoing process, and actually should be, arguably should be continuous, because, in order to keep up with developments, it's got to be continuous. So if there isn't a continuous process in place looking at areas of the business that would benefit, well, then there should be.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Nick. Dee, any final thought?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Nick's saying. I think I would emphasize the buy-in. Yeah. Without the buy-in, I think it becomes fundamentally difficult to implement any tool internally and or externally. And for me, that is a process that needs to start from step one, when, the senior management team is thinking about, we're thinking of digitizing the whole enterprise or a part of it. Get that buy-in from the very beginning, because that's the success. Yeah, perfect. No, fully agreed. Well, look, thank you both. I've enjoyed talking about that, and hopefully people might think, you know what, it'd be worth talking to the commercial director about these things, which both Nick and Dee, you can very much help with. So yeah, thank you both, and hopefully some people get some value out of listening to us. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks for listening. If you'd like more information about the topics discussed in this podcast, then you can find us on our website at moveyourbusinessforward.com.